Let us pray. You've been mighty good to us. We haven't been that good to you, nor to one another, but you have been good. Despite evil, you are goodness despite strife. Even when we wrestle with your identity and with our own identities, you remain constant. When you seem to be invisible is when you are closest. When we seem to be banished by your silence, in some way you still speak. Bless us in the midst of the tragedies of the world and the calamities of our own existences. Speak a word of hope and truth to your people. Amen. I want to return to Luke chapter 8 and thank Brother Lamar, my cousin who will not claim me, for reading so well this morning. Luke chapter 8, beginning at verse 26. Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but he lived in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons. And they begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now there on the hillside a large herd of swine was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherd saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then people came out to see what had happened, and when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. And then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. And the man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "No, return home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. Look again there in verse 35. You'll find these words, clothed and in his right mind. That's what I want to talk about this afternoon, clothed and in his right mind. Now, no doubt, brothers and sisters, many of you, like me, have read many books, have attended school, and have learned much. But I want to say this morning that the most unassailable and most unimpeachable knowledge that I have ever received is the wisdom given to me by the elders. I do not besmirch any kind of learning, any kind of acquisition of degrees and academic pursuit, but to me, nothing beats the wisdom that I got around my grandparents and their generation and around the generation preceding them. You would hear stuff that you didn't quite understand if you didn't grow up in eras in which they grew up, but let me drop some of it on you to remind you. Now, ain't that the pot called in the kettle black? Y'all heard that before? If you lie down with dogs, huh? Y'all have heard those things. I told you about shaking my grandfather's hand one day, and he looked at me and smiled and said, boy, you ain't done an honest day's work in your life. Your hands are too smooth. When he was near death, probably 12 to 18 months from his own death, we were sitting, and he said to me, boy, when the fruit gets ripe, it falls from the tree, preparing me for his own death. There is nothing like the wisdom of the ancestors. And if you did not receive it wherever you were born and wherever you were reared, I implore you to find somebody who has a little more wisdom than you and talk to them, that the gifts of their wisdom might be transmitted. Our African ancestors say that when an elder dies, a library burns. Did you hear that? That when an elder dies, a library is burned. If you, and I have been corrected by my friend Dr. Cheryl, who teaches at Howard, if you grew up in the experience of the black church, now Dr. Cheryl says we should, and I agree with her, call it the black churches because our experiences are wide and varied. If you grew up in black churches and you listen to the elders when they prayed, there's one phrase that you know. Whether you grew up in Texas or Florida or Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, Colorado, thank you, Doc. There are people who live in places other than the Southeast. Thank y'all. I forget that sometimes. If you grew up in these places, you would hear the elders include in their prayer, I rose this morning clothed. Y'all better talk to me this morning. And the people that prayed it in the church where I grew up, they didn't say clothed, they said closed. Y'all heard them say that? Closed and in my right mind. Every Sunday at 989 Morrow Avenue, St. Paul, African Methodist Episcopal Church, Macon, Georgia, 31201-912-745-0507. At that time, the Reverend Elbert Shinholster Mallory, who worked at a telephone company and was also the pastor. Y'all talk to me. That's where I'm from. I ain't ashamed. Y'all ashamed? I ain't ashamed. Every Sunday, whoever lifted prayer would thank God that they were clothed and in their right mind. I ain't been to church yet where the one who was praying did not thank God for those two things. And as I prepared for sharing this morning, I said to myself, Dr. Smith, the ancestors were making an amazing exegetical turn, an amazing interpretive maneuver. What they are doing is placing themselves in the very life of the Gerasene demoniac. Did you hear what I said? That when they read this, and I assume in their wisdom, they weren't just saying clothed and in their right mind. They knew where it came from. And let me share with you, I have worshiped with people of many cultures. I've worshiped with Native Americans, First Nations people. Never heard them thank God for being clothed and in their right minds. I worship with Latino and Latina brothers and sisters. Never heard them thank God for being clothed and in their right mind. Have worshiped with European Americans. Never heard them thanking God for being clothed and in their right mind. There was something about this phrase, something about this story that gripped the theological imaginations of our mothers and our fathers, that every time they prayed publicly, they thanked God for being clothed and in their right minds. And they are asking us to wrestle this morning. Why would they associate themselves with the... Are y'all with me this morning? Well, the story begins with Jesus transgressing, because when he goes into the land of the Gerasenes, he is going where he has no business going. Luke is making not only a geographical point, but a theological one, that Jesus transgresses boundaries. He leaves places where the Jews are and goes where the Gentiles are. You need to know that if you're going to follow him, you've got to leave comfortable places, comfortable theology, comfortable understanding, and go to other places where other people can be found. He goes opposite his home, opposite his tradition. And the minute he gets out of the boat, a man from the city who had demons confronts him. This is the man our mothers and fathers associated with. He had no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but he lived in the tombs, meaning he lived amongst death and the dead. Why would our mothers and fathers associate themselves with a naked demoniac? First of all, because their own experience ripped their clothing, ripped their dignity, ripped their identity from them, and they understood this reality. They did not have homes that were fit for human habitation. They lived where they could live, and most importantly, and I want you to read Carla F.C. Holloway's book about how black people deal with death. Most importantly, they lived amongst death, never knowing when their life would be ripped away from them. Like this man lived in the tomb, our mothers and fathers lived in the tomb. And the fear of death animated a lot of what they said and did. It took me a long time to realize why my dad, his mama, didn't want us anywhere near water, didn't even want us to learn how to swim. Because she knew strange things happen around Negroes and water. Death was always around. This man, this demon-possessed man, lived in an era when people thought that the world was full of demons and spirits and nymphs and centaurs and angels, and they believed that these demons took possession, eyes and the ears and the nose, that they would take control of you. And they lived with amulets and magics and sacrifices and rituals, trying to protect themselves from the power of demons. When this man with whom our ancestors associated theologically saw Jesus, he knew, and the demons within him knew, that he was in the presence of God. He fell down before Jesus and he shouted, "What do you have to do with me?" Because the demons inside of him were wrestling to keep residence in him, because they knew that Jesus had power to expel them. Jesus' resume had already gone to the region of the Gerasenes of the Decapolis before he got there. They'd already tweeted, they'd already Facebooked and Snapchatted, "Watch out for him because he's got power over demons." The demons identify him before anybody else does. And what we need to understand is there are demons yet in us that do not wish to be exorcised. There are demons in us that still want to control us politically and psychologically and socially and culturally, and they do not want to be in the presence of God, who has power over demons. Y'all don't want to talk to me today, but I know my own demons don't want to be before Jesus, because then they know they must leave. Surely you have no demons. But demons require a host. Understand that we don't believe in disembodied spirits, be they divine or evil. All spirits must have a host. Y'all need to know that that brother that walked into that club the other night was a host. And that brother that walked into Emmanuel 1 year ago was a host. Y'all need to know the one spewing vile political rhetoric is a host, carrying spirits that seek to destroy and subvert what it is that God is trying to do. Listen, this is why our mothers and fathers associated with this demoniac, because it says that the demon seized him and he was bound with chains and with shackles. Y'all better talk to me. When they saw him, they saw themselves bound up, and their children. We, in many ways, remain demon-possessed and bound in chains and shackles. And the reason that we keep coming to church is because we need to be set free of the things that bind us by the power of the living God. Say yes. This man would be driven to do self-defeating and foolish things by the demons he hosted. Y'all, when I look at what we often do and hear the things we often say, it appears that we are being controlled by things that are extra our reality. And so Jesus asked this man a question. Dr. Curry, he asked him, "What is your name?" Because I cannot help you if you don't know your identity. Because I cannot set you free if you are not aware of the thing that has you bound. What is your name? And this man says, I've got so many demons inside of me. I've got so much mess, so much stuff seeking to rend me in multiple parts. I don't have an identity. I don't have a name. I don't have individuality. I've got a legion inside of me. I got so many damn demons in me, I can't tell you one from the other. Too many demons to count. And y'all, if we pay attention to how we have lived and how we live, there are too many demons to count. There is rape, too many demons to count. Incest, too many demons to count. Slavery, too many demons to count. Emasculation of the men in the community, too many demons to count. Gentrification, too many demons to count. Pay-to-pay politics, too many demons to count. Preachers who won't tell the truth, even if the truth bites them on their backside, too many demons. Folks smiling in your face, too many demons to count. And not only the demons around us, but the demons inside of us that want to continue to grasp us and hold us. The man says, my name is Legion. There are too many demons to count. Our mothers and fathers associated with this man because in all of their lives, all of their difficulty, there were too many demons to count. But I want you to hear the genius of them and of this man. They knew who God was. Y'all, you can have all the demons around you, but if you know who God is, there is hope for your freedom. There is hope for your liberation. There is hope for your transformation. If you know who God is, there is still hope. I don't care what you lose. I don't care what difficulty you have if you know who God is. But the problem is when you get next to him, that stuff you like that ain't right, it comes out. When you get next to him, the sins that we have grown to love, they got to come out. Then when you get next to him, that hatred in your spirit for your brother or your sister, that judgment inside of you, it's got to come out. And I have realized sometimes I don't feel like coming to church. I got it. The light bulb went off because my demons don't want to come out. Oh, you better talk to me. The next time you stay in your bed, ask yourself, is it that the demons he casts out the demons and they are looking for a host. And so the Lord gives them permission to enter swine. Now, if you are a member of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, you've got an exegetical problem with this. The pigs ain't never bothered nobody. Why is it that the pigs have to suffer? Well, Jesus gives the demons permission to enter the pigs. They jump off of the cliff into the water because in the ancient cosmology, demons could not survive a drowning. Reading is fundamental. I didn't know that till I read it. You better read something. Tell somebody. Hear me. The pigs did nothing, but they received these demonic legion of spirits. And later on, after the man who was living amongst the tomb was made whole, the people around him were afraid of the power that it set him free. Because let me tell you this, when we deal with Jesus and he starts messing with stuff, things get messed up. Now, when he cast them into the swine, he disrupted the economy of the region. Because this was a region of people who were pig farmers. Imagine me going to North Carolina and casting into that huge swine economy spirits, and then all of those farmers who control the North Carolina State House lose their economic power. There's a problem. When he comes, he disrupts and disturbs relationships as they exist. Not only are we concerned about the demons, but we're also concerned with keeping him at bay, because when he comes into the church, when he comes into our politics, when he comes into our culture, he disrupts things as they are. Listen, you would think that the swine herders would be glad that the brother was set free, but they were upset because they lost their pigs. Y'all need to hear me. There's some people who ain't concerned about your freedom. They ain't concerned about nothing but the status of their pigs. How many pigs can I grow? How many tax breaks can I get because I own these pigs? How can I, as Warren Buffett says, pay less in taxes than my secretary because Congress is protecting my pigs? How can developers get a better break than those who live in the district because those who are in power often protect the pigs and not the people? Y'all better listen to me this morning. And so everybody is turned upside down by the presence of this demon cast outing Jesus. They're turned upside down economically and theologically, and they don't know what to do with him. Here is what one interpreter says: it is because we are more comfortable with the devil that we know than the freedom we don't know. Who was clothed and in his right mind was set free, and he is sitting by the feet of Jesus. And Luke says he's clothed in his right mind. He's no longer naked. He's no longer cutting himself. He's no longer living in the tomb. But this man, once the demons were gone, I believe Jesus took him down to Nordstrom's, got him a brand new suit and a starched white shirt and a yellow power tie and some shined up wingtips. And when he sat down next to Jesus, nobody could recognize him anymore, because he was no longer possessed, no longer crazy, no longer disturbed. You better know there's some people who would rather you stay naked and crazy than to be clothed and in your right mind. But is anybody here today thankful that the Lord wants you to put on some clothes? Thankful that the Lord wants your mind to be at ease. Clothed and in their right mind. Our ancestors knew what it felt like to be naked, knew what it felt like to be taken down in the midst of your humanity, knew what it felt like to have trouble all around them. But when they found the power of God, they knew what it meant to be clothed and in their right mind. I might be a janitor, but I'm clothed in my right mind. I might not be able to speak proper English, but I'm clothed and in my right mind. I might not know the difference between a salad fork and the other fork. I still don't know what you call it, but I'm clothed and in my right mind. I might not know the difference between a bread plate and a salad plate, but I'm clothed and in my right mind. And after you've been clothed and placed in your right mind, what you want to do is sit down at the feet of Jesus and never leave. You want to sit down and stay with him because he freed you and he blessed you and he released you from those demons. But Jesus said, oh, no, you can't stay with me. I got to cut the umbilical cord because you got to leave and tell somebody else about what it is that God has done for you. Is anybody here today who needs to go tell somebody what the Lord has done for you? Has he clothed anybody today? Has he put you in your right mind? You got to get up and tell somebody about what the Lord has done for you. Has the Lord done anything for you socially? You ought to stand up. Has the Lord done anything for you economically? You ought to stand up. Has the Lord done anything for you politically? You ought to stand up. Anybody here clothed and in your right mind, say yes. I'm no longer naked, but I'm clothed and in my right mind. I'm no longer demon possessed, but I'm clothed and in my right mind. I know what my name is. I'm clothed and in my right mind. Don't mess with me. Anybody here ready for the fight? I'm clothed and in my right mind. And there's somebody here today. Spirits have tried to keep you naked. You better come down here and get some breeches. Get you a pair of dungarees. Get you some brogans. In your right mind. Y'all know all of us just one whisper away from crazy. Hallelujah. I know I said something. That's something else the ancestors said. One whisper away from, I ain't know what, one whisper away from crazy. The scripture says that the mind that is stayed on him is kept. What kind of peace, Brother Don? Perfect peace. Clothed in your right mind. Everybody on your feet.
Lord, we thank you. Lord, we thank you for